I was thinking about maybe we should put up a Halloween thing here. Hey, YouTubers! Hello, I'm right here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome. It's me, Mr. Digital 45. It's been 9 days since I clipped my last video. I've just been working a lot, and I thought, well, it's time. As you can see, I got a cool Friday the 13th shirt on. My hair's a little messy. It's early in the morning. I need a shave. I need a lot of stuff done to me. That's why I don't got great screen appearance. That's why I don't show my face as much on camera. But I wanted to start off by showing I just picked up, the only thing I picked up lately is this Claude Rains movie with him being the Phantom of the Opera from 1942, I believe. Yep, this was Universal Monsters collection. Not their one of the original cases, but it's Phantom of the Opera with Claude Rains. So I had to pick it up. I showed you these the last time, so I was going to go here until I put them in order. I got all of these right here to go through. This will probably be in the next step because we got this shelf right here to go through. I also wanted to show you I got a Scarlet Witch and a Agatha Harkness Funko Pop. Goes my Wolverine. I'm trying to collect Marvel Funko Pops. You know me, I own certain things, but I thought since it was Agatha All Along show just started, and I found these two at Five Below for a good price. Thank you. And I don't know if I showed you the Jaws cup that I found a little bit ago, a little week ago. I don't remember. I know I showed you the Hard Rock Cafe, and then I got this cool Beetlejuice cup. It's showtime for my party place. And then what I have inside is the Fanta Beetlejuice Haunted Apple drink. It is okay to me. I'm not a big sour apple fan. It's basically sour apple pop, and it was okay, but some people might like it. I don't know. Me, I'm not one of them. Alright, so let's get this show on the road while we're talking. We're gonna somehow start here. We're gonna start off with Chuck Norris. Let's get a little closer. And Lone Wolf McQuade. Also with David Carradine in this movie. We're gonna start off with the original The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds. And of course, to complete the set, we got Burt Reynolds coming back but not playing the main part. This is the Adam Sandler version of The Longest Yard. Next up, we got Looney Tunes with Brendan Fraser and Jenna Elfman. And that guy in the middle, I think you guys all know his name. That's right, Steve Martin. Next up, we got Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron and Long Shot. Followed by John Boyd and Margaret and Burt Young, all looking to get out. Next up, we got Bruce Willis, John Travolta, and Kirstie Alley, and Look Who's Talking. You know, Bruce Willis only doing the voice of the baby, Mikey. I think that's Mikey. Alright, next up we got Look Who's Talking 2, John Travolta and Chris Alley return. And I think it's Roseanne Barr that joins the cast as the voices. And Damon Wayans too, I'm not sure. I do not have the third one in the series, but I'm looking. Next up we got, I only have the the DVDs of these. I need to get the extended versions, but I want the 4Ks. I'm just waiting for the right price to buy them. This is The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Oh, I got mixed up here. There's Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. There's them two, and then, okay, here's the first one. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. So, I do have all three of them movies. I do not have any of the Hobbits. I haven't seen them yet. I haven't watched the TV show yet either. So, I will eventually get around. Like I said, I'm busy, but I do have the original three, which I have seen. These three. I think I've seen them all in the theater too. And I've seen all the extended cuts too. Makes for long movies. Next up, I have Lost in Space, the complete classic series. Digitally remastered in widescreen. That's right, they digitally remastered these and made them in widescreen, and it's great. Did you know how they do because the original aspect ratios are on them big screens. Get the black bars on the side. I know that's the way it's supposed to look. Alright, next up we got Lost in the Sun. Josh Duhamel is in this one. Next up we got Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson in Lost in Translation. On these next ones, I have The Love Bug, the Herbie movies. I put it under the L's because the first movie is called The Love Bug. So that's how I have them, and that's how I have the sequels. Herbie Rides Again. Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. I don't know if I had these in the right order, but give me a minute. Then I got Herbie Goes Bananas. And finally we got Herbie Fully Loaded. And that's all the Love Bug movies I have. I think there's another one with Bruce Campbell in it that was made for cable or TV or something. I can't remember. But I don't have that one. That one's a hard one to find. Next up, we got a movie with Michael J. Fox, and it's called Life with Mikey. Next up, we got a movie with Robert Redford. It's called Little Foss and Big Halsey. Next up we got the movie Logan with Hugh Jackman. Supposed to be his last time before Deadpool movie came out. Next up we got Bruce Willis and Josh Hartnett and Lucky Slevin. Alright, followed by Jamie Lee Curtis and Love Letters. Can't fit it down now. Put that there, I guess. Alright, next up we got Ben Affleck and Live by Night. Next up we got Michelle Pfeiffer and Matthew Broderick and Lady Hawk, which I'll just lay right over here because once I put these over here, I'm going to need the LAs anyway. Next up, we got Bruce Willis, and I know I should keep this with the Die Hard movies, huh? Live Free or Die Hard. I might do that next time I put things in alphabetical order, so. But right now, it's right here in the L's. Live Free and Die Hard. Oh boy. Alright, next up, we got Edward G. Robinson and Little Caesar. Next up, we got Kate Winslet and Little Children. Next up, we got Tatum O'Neal and Christy McNichol and Little Darlings. Next up, we got Jodie Foster and Martin Sheen and The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. That was a pretty good movie. Alright, next up we got some Adam Sandler and Little Nicky, which he has the sequel coming out here soon on Netflix to this. Alright, next up we got Rick Moranis and John Candy and a cast of thousands. We got Ellen Green, you got Steve Martin, we got Bill Murray in a cameo, we got Vincent Gardenia. Little Shop of Horrors, the musical kind of version. Great movie. Next up we got Pierce Bronson in Live Wire. This has got an R-rated version and an unrated version on here. Next up we got Timothy Dalton in The Living Daylights. Next up we got a movie called The Lodger. Alright. Next up we got Stanley Kubrick's Lolita, James Mason, Shelley Winters. Oh shit. Oh, I said the S word. Pardon my French. Next up we got a movie with Jeff Bridges, Ron Steiger, Robert Ryan, and there's a couple other people. I can't think off my head, but this one's called The Lolly Madonna. Next up we got Robert Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones and Lonesome Dove series. This is a complete collection, I believe. It's a 2-disc collector's edition, so I guess they got both. They got the whole thing on here, miniseries on 2-disc. I had never watched that, but I heard people say it's good. Next up we got some Mark Wahlberg and Lone Survivor, which I got this from Big Lots. I only paid $1.25 for it on Blu-ray. I suggest people stop at your local Big Lots to find some movies because they got them cheap. Be like your DVDs and Blu-rays. Next up we got Lord Love a Duck, Roddy McDowall, Tuesday Weld. No, is it Weld? It is Tuesday Weld. I don't know why I was doubting myself. Alright, next up we got the Keach brothers, James and Stacy. we got the Carradine brothers, David, Keith, and Robert. And we also got the Quaid brothers, Dennis and Randy. And this is a movie called The Long Riders, about the James and the Younger Gang. Very, very good movie. One of my favorite westerns. Next up, we got a cast of Who's Who back in the late 1960 when this movie came out. I can't remember the date exactly. The Longest Day, about D-Day. Right, this is the Steelbook Blu-ray of the movie. Alright, next up, talking about John Wayne. He is in The Longest Day. We got Legends of the Lost with him and Sophia Loren. Next up, we got Jet Li in Legend of the Red Dragon. Followed by Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones in The Legend of Zorro. Next up, we got Paul Newman in Left-Handed Gun. Next up, we got The Little Mermaid, Disney's original cartoon classic. This is the Diamond Edition Blu-ray. Okay, where are we going from here? Next up, we got The Little Mermaid 2, Return to the Sea, which is a straight-to-video sequel. Back in the day when they did that kind of stuff. Next up, we got some Roger Moore in his first outing as James Bond. This is Live and Let Die. Great song by Paul McCartney and Wings in the opening title. Next up, we got David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly in Labyrinth. Alright, next up, we got Kevin Spacey, Kim Basinger, I can't remember everybody else who's in it, but there's a couple of stars in it. This is LA Confidential. This is a 2-deck special feature. This is the extended director's. It might be the extended director's cut. I'm not sure, but there you go on that one. Next up, we got Ladder 49 with Joaquin Phoenix and John Travolta. Next up, we got Jim Carrey and Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. Alright, next up we got this 4-film collection pack of Leprechaun. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4 all in there. Next up we got Lady and the Tramp, another Disney classic Blu-ray, so we'll throw that over here on the LAs. Next up we got Pamela Sue Martin and Robert Conrad and Louise Fletcher in The Lady in Red. a Roger Corman kind of classic. He didn't direct it. I think Louis Teague directed this, but I think his wife produced it. It's under his label, New World. So next up, we got Alfred Hitchcock's The Lady Vanishes, a Criterion Collection edition. This was number 3 in the Criterion Collection. Says something, huh? Next up, we got La Femme Nikita. And this movie sparked the American remake, Point of No Return, with Bridget Fonda, which we will get to when we get into the P's. Alright. Next up, we got Will Ferrell and The Land of the Lost. Of course, based on the TV show Land of the Lost. If you like Land of the Lost TV show, you love this movie. Alright. Next up, we got a classic B movie, Laser Blast. Look at that artwork. You gotta love the old school artwork. This is a full moon release. Next up, we got some Tom Selleck and Lasseter. Next up, we got a classic teen comedy movie from MVD Home Video. You can see this has got the make it look like a VHS cover, and then you pull this. This is The Last American Virgin. Excuse me, I slipped that back on. One of my favorite teen movie comedies of the 80s. The soundtrack is to die for. If you love 80s new wave music, this is the soundtrack you need to find for yourself. Next up, we got some Bruce Willis in Last Man Standing. Alright, next up is Last of the Grads, a horror movie, of course. I don't think I've watched this yet. Alright, next up we got Linda Florentine and Bill Pullman in a movie called The Last Seduction. If you don't remember who Linda Florentine is, she was the girl in Men in Black Part 1 and the movie called Vision Quest. Her 2 biggest movies that I can remember she was in. Alright, next up we got Lance Guest in The Last Starfighter. I do want to get the 4K, I think it's a 4K Arrow version, because that would be cool, because Arrow does such a great job on their movies. Next up we got Marlon Brando and the controversial 1972 movie, The Last Tango in Paris. I knew it was 71 or 72, but it's 72. Alright, next up we got Robert De Niro in The Last Tycoon. One of his lesser known movies. Is good if you like Robert De Niro's acting, especially back in the day in the 70s when he did really good work. You want that one. Next up we got Lawnmower Man 2, Jobs War. Next up we got LBJ with Woody Harrelson about Lyndon B. Johnson. do not. I might not have Lawnmower Man the first one. I thought I did. Well, we'll find out. We still got quite a little bit to go here. Next up, we got Gina Davis, Madonna, Tom Hanks, A League of Their Own. Also with Laura Petty and Rosie O'Donnell. Next up, we got the Ridley Scott, Tom Cruise collaboration they did back in 86, 87, called Legend. So one of them cool. This is, it opens up like this, and a booklet that goes in there. It's really cool. I still have it. It's got one of them clear backs. It's Legend. Tom Cruise. Very good movie. Tim Curry. Great. Great is in that. I'm not going to tell you if you haven't seen it what character he plays, but when you watch it, you just know it's him. Alright, next up we got some Mel Gibson and Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. This is the director's cut. Alright. Next up we got them both back again. This time Joe Pesci's in this movie. This is Lethal Weapon 2, the director's cut. Next up we got Mel Gibson and Danny Glover and Joe Pesci. This time joined by Rene Russo. And Lethal Weapon 3, the director's cut. They never released the director's cut of the fourth one. But this is Mel Gibson and the whole cast. Chris Rock joins them. Jet Li joins them. You know, Joe Pesci's back. Rene Russo's back. And of course, Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. Lethal Weapon 4. Alright, next up we got a movie called Leviathan with Peter Weller. Once The Abyss came out, you had Leviathan come out, and then you had another movie called Deep Star 6. They started doing these underwater monster kind of movies. They had a couple of them. Next up we got Jim Carrey in Liar Liar. Trust me. That's what they all say. Next up, we got another MVD release. This one is Matt Dillon and Cindy Fisher in Liar's Moon. Another great movie. It's not known as most of his. I just suggest you check it out, Liar's Moon. Next up we got License to Kill with Timothy Dalton. So you saw License, Living Daylights, and then License to Kill, the only two movies that Timothy Dalton did as James Bond. Next up we got Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence in Life. Alright, we just got a few more here to go. We also have a Ryan Reynolds, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Rebecca Ferguson movie. It's called Life also. But this one takes place in space. It's pretty decent. Next up we got Ewan McGregor and Cameron Diaz in A Life Less Ordinary. Next up we got Monty Python's Life of Brian. Very funny movie. Funny. Anything Monty Python is funny to me. Alright, next up we got Paul Muni in The Life of Emile Zola. I believe it won Best Picture. I can't read that, it's so small. 31, I think. I'm not positive. I can't. Don't have my glasses on to read that real small print, but I know it won Best Picture. maybe was it 31 or 30? Oh, man, I used to know all the best pictures by heart. I can remember some of them, but alright, this is next up. We'll just go on to that. If anybody knows what year that one best picture, before I look it up later. Alright, next up we got a movie called Light Speed. It's presented by Stan Lee. The late great Stan Lee. Alright, next up we got Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron in Like Father, Like Son. This is another one of them movies where they had trends where people swap bodies like in Freaky Friday. But they had another one out at the same time called Vice Versa with Judge Reinhold. And Fred Savage. I believe it was Fred Savage. Alright, next up we got Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln, directed by Steven Spielberg. Oh, let me say that 500 times fast. But the great Spielberg's movie, Lincoln. And last but not least, we'll put these side by side. We have The Lion King and The Lion King 1.5. Of course, you know the great animated version of The Lion King. I do not have the live action one yet. And this is one of them straight to home video collection ones that I found. Alright, that is gonna do it for now. I appreciate y'all watching, and I appreciate another one of my videos going over 1,000 views. I only have 2 of them that are over 1,000 views, but I appreciate every one of you people out there that made that possible, and I appreciate you watching. Until next time, don't forget to give that thumbs up, and I appreciate y'all. See ya.